Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Payment Genes podcast series Voices in Payments. Today, we are joined by Mihai Draghici, the founder and CEO of PayByFace. Mihai, a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you, Mihai. And Mihai, I always start the podcast with the same question, and that is, how did you stumble into payments? I never found anybody who woke up one day and said, I'm going to be a payment expert. How did this happen to you?
I had no real vision of getting into the payment space. I never even thought I would end up back in Romania. So I was born in Romania, in Bucharest, and my parents left the country when I was 5 back in the revolution, and we went to America. Land of opportunity, and then 35 years later, I had done a lot of startups. I come from 20 years of engineering and global entrepreneurship, and I just hadn't been back to Bucharest for 25 years. And I was living on a sailboat, and my mom was just like, go visit grandma, and that's what I did. And then it opened a whole new a new world for me, because I basically found the wild east. And and
The
when I
land
got
of
to
opportunity, and now back in
yeah,
Romania.
seriously. And then when I got there, I had lived in India several years in Hyderabad, and I saw the patterns of Hyderabad turning into a big tech, global startup ecosystem, and I kind of saw the same patterns in Bucharest. And then I learned about PSD2 and open banking, and all these cool things happening in the banking space. And
Yeah.
I was really focusing on tech startups, and so it was right in line. And some of my background, having worked for former senior vice president of Visa and former large insurance companies in the States, I kind of knew the idea of open banking and open APIs and accessibility to banking information and account holder information and all this stuff. And it was just like, I played with Legos as a kid, so I opened a whole new box of Legos. And for me, it was just like a challenge. Like, let's do something nobody else is doing. And that's kind of been why I wake up in the morning. I want to do things that nobody else is doing. And I combined, my engineering background, my experience, my sort of process for launching a startup, and went through all the discovery, customer discovery, validation, surveys, pitch in front of tons of people about your idea and get feedback. And I did this for almost 2 years in Bucharest, testing PayByFace and building PayByFace at the same time, and working through the architecture and the PSD2 requirements. And that's kind of how it landed in my lap. It was just a combination of a whole bunch of things that just happened all at once, and made me sort of turn it into a startup.
It almost sounds like your entire life led up to this point and gave you all the Lego blocks in order to
Kinda.
build PayByFace.
Yeah, some of the core there's a core platform in PayByFace that I actually built in the early 2000s. I built some of the largest out-of-home digital signage networks in the States, in California and Texas and Seattle. And some of that, out-of-home digital signage on touch screens, with cameras facing you and blah, 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 is still out-of-home digital signage. We just combined it with payments, and all these other cool things. Once you have a face digital ID, you can you kind of have access to Pandora's box.
Indeed. Mihai, everybody by now has heard of biometrics, being fingerprint, facial ID, or whatever. But tell us a bit about how PayByFace actually works.
Yeah, and I chose PayByFace because sort of the name kind of says it all. Literally, you go pay by face. But this customer journey, there's two parts of the customer journey. It's kind of like the Uber app. You got the driver app and the user app. So there's a customer journey for the how does it work for the merchant, but for a consumer, how it works is you'll probably end up going to one of our locations in Bucharest where we have installed and launched. We have some coffee shops and pharmacies, and we're working with new companies now. But let's say you walk into Tucano Coffee in Bucharest, where we have our iPad. You'll probably look at the iPad and you'll be like, "What is that?" You'll ask, how do I pay by face? And
Yeah.
first step is you have to download the PayByFace e-wallet app, which is, you can download it from the App Store or the Android Google Play, and you create your account. It's pretty typical. You give your first name, last name, phone number, email, blah, 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 right? And you get a login, and then you log in, and there's 3 parts of the sort of KYC, this biometric KYC that everyone's talking about, like an Evolut app or, some of the car sharing apps have, blah, blah, blah. You have to take a selfie. You got to add your card on file, tokenize your card, and then create a pin on glass feature, right? It's your PayByFace strong customer authentication pin on glass. Once you have those 3 components set up in the e-wallet app, you can basically leave your phone at home and go to Tucano with just your face. And within 20 minutes of creating an account, there's a sort of a geofencing system where only the iPads within 20 kilometers of where you are will recognize you. This is kind of one of the getting into the security side of things. And basically you walk to Tucano and you say, I'd like to pay by face for my coffee. You look at the iPad, the clerk there will trigger the iPad to enable the camera. It scans your face. You see your face yourself on the iPad. It says your username there. Everybody can pick a special username. Mine's Neo. My CFO is Batman. And once you pick your screen name, back like in AOL, screen name days. If you remember America Online, everybody had a unique screen name. You'll get your screen name at PayByFace, and that associates you with your biometric encrypted biometric template. The iPad will recognize you, it'll do count lookup, it'll show you what you're about to buy, and then right immediately it contacts our third-party payment gateway. We don't do any payment processing. We don't top off cards or anything like that. We're not a bank. We're just a facilitator, and we integrated into Yoplătesc in Romania, which is just a standard e-commerce gateway. They do all the card tokenization and processing, blah, blah, blah. And then, it charges your card, and then you'll get an email receipt, just like, when you're done taking an Uber, you get your receipt on mail. And that's it. You just bought a coffee, and you can go sit down and enjoy it without touching anything.
That's indeed very interesting. Hey, you mentioned that you spent 2 years gathering feedback in order to redefine the solution. Looking back, what has been the most valuable piece of information or feedback that you've been given?
It wasn't one, the last nail sort of thing. It was a combination of so many people, contributing, from just a, piece of advice to actually, how do we integrate into PSD2 regulations, right? There was a lot of contributing people that were very instrumental to getting this done and getting through all the challenges. And it couldn't have been just one. It had to be all of them. All of them were very critical to me getting here. And now it's just it's compound interest, because all of those things are creating the opportunity that we've done as sort of the leader. And I'm getting really, really, realistically close to building one of the largest, biometric face recognition payment systems in Eastern Europe at this point, unless, we have some major roadblock from regulation or a ban on face recognition or something like that, right? And so, there was definitely some critical moments, and I would say the day where we hooked into the gateway, using just standard APIs instead of trying to reinvent something and try to get it approved by, regulation. We actually just built it with standard APIs, out of the box APIs. And that was the eureka moment, because now basically it's, we had the full end to end, and I could walk in and do a process, payment on an iPad with just my face. And that was the first time, besides it being on paper, that
it actually worked.
It was real. It turned real at that moment. And I think that was the critical step. As soon as we had that, then it was just, go, 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 go. Yeah.
Now, after developing the solution itself, of course, the next step then is integrating with the gateways. What were their first reactions? Because it's something that's a totally new thing for them. Were they a bit skeptical at the beginning, or how was it?
No. Actually, we got a lot of positive feedback from gateways. I mean, clearly we'd be pushing transactions through their platform, so they're very open to it. There were a couple conversations about, well, we're not really sure, because we're not sure about PSD2. We're not sure, exactly what how did you hack this thing together?
How
Because
did you come up with it, and why hasn't anybody else?
well, yeah, maybe. I mean, it is a very unique system, but it's within compliance, and that's sort of what makes it so special. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. There's so many.
That it
Yeah,
just works.
it just worked. Yeah.
Mihai, often when we speak about biometrics, anything beside fingerprint, people think it's 10, 15 years down the line. But I've got a feeling it's on a lot closer horizon for you. Do you see this as well on a broader scale, not just with pay by face, but biometric recognition in general?
Kind of. I have, I'm subscribed to Google alerts where I have like contactless payments, biometric payments, and all this stuff. So I get my inbox pretty full of all the news. Um, and there's clearly a very strong, sustained push towards contactless, clearly because of COVID. I mean, we probably wouldn't be, it's like you're in the ocean waiting for that wave on a surfboard. I don't know if you've been
And
surfing.
here it was.
And then, a lot of these waves come and you almost catch them, right? And then that's kind of how we were for 2 years. We were trying to like basically make our own waves. And then COVID came, and that was like the big wave, and we were just right there. And so we've been riding this wave now. Clearly, the wave is starting to subside, but the impact to society, the impact to contactless and digital IDs and digital currency and virtualized cards and all these things, tokenization and biometrics are clearly more sort of horizon one problem solving mechanism now, instead of
I think so as well.
instead of like a horizon 2 or maybe even a horizon 3 where we were 2 years ago. Like everybody was investing in NFC and Apple Pay and tap to pay, and that was the coolest shit on the market. And
Yes.
and so now it's like, okay, well, what's the next cool thing on the market? And clearly China has been ahead of everybody on face recognition payments with Alipay and WeChat Pay and all those. I think they're getting over, I don't even know the last figure, but there's like hundreds of millions of people paying with just their face in China. So there's something there, but I don't know, I don't want to get into the China, way of business, but they don't have like like a GDPR sort of thing like we do in Europe, from what I understand. And so we were built in Europe, and so I used sort of GDPR and PSD2 as architecture by design, like privacy by design. Having those regulations guide our engineering decisions and data security decisions and all those things, and how do we give the users ultimate control of their wallets, to the point where with PayByFace, you get home at the end of the day, you can turn yourself technically off and all your data gets wiped out within 20 minutes.
So if you
Everywhere.
delete the app, then all the data is deleted as well.
No, you don't even have to delete the app. There's a setting in the app under your wallet controls where you can just turn your wallet off. And what that means
So
is
that next time when I'm facing an iPad, it will no longer register my face.
yeah, it won't know who you are. And then you can turn your wallet back on, when you walk out of the house in the morning, and within 20 minutes, those iPads around you will know your face. And you can't do that with any other payment system today that I know of, especially not cards. And and so we're using, actually we're not scared of GDPR. I'm using GDPR sort of guidelines
To your advantage.
to my advantage to build upon GDPR, so the user has full control over their identity and when a camera can find them or not.
So when the camera can find you is based on your location, and it finds your location through your cell phone, I assume.
Yeah. Of course, these are happy paths. I mean, clearly people will opt out of these things. Some people, will use it however they feel like it. But we're trying to make like at least the standard, where it's up to you when you enable pin on glass. It's up to you at what level, of transaction level you want to set it for. Technically, these are card not present transactions. So it's just like Apple Pay. You don't really need 3D secure, 3D secure. You don't need a physical pin and all that. It's kind of like buying on the website. But you've opted in to give your biometric face template. You've opted in to tokenize your card. You're the owner of that sort of device. You're sitting in the store. You're not on the couch at home. right? And so some of the e-commerce fraud mechanisms that typically happen on e-commerce fraud, they're elevated because our biometric, security on layer. There's the proximity to the iPad in the store. You're actually standing in front of someone, doing it. And so all these things kind of play inside of that.
Okay, so then how does it work? Say, for instance, I'm in the store and the clerks wants to facilitate a payment for 10 euros, and I just happen to glance at the iPad. How does that work then?
Yeah. So the iPad, when it's not being used for transactions, this is actually one of our business models. Back on the out of home digital signage, that iPad is running 10-second ads in a loop. Like right now, it's just showing you PayByFace stuff, like join PayByFace,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, right? But we on a Tucano coffee shop, we could advertise maybe the pharmacy, right? And on the pharmacy screen, we could advertise Tucano coffee. As long as it's non-compete. And so that screen is playing some ads there. Clearly it's at checkout. You might see an ad for, bubble gum, and you'll probably want to buy it. And so the idea is just to do digital out-of-home advertising on the same device that the merchant uses for payments. But clearly we're compounding the value proposition now. But now, you're going to tell the merchant, I want to pay by face, and they'll be like, okay, they have a little tool on their desktop where they can trigger the iPad, send the price to it, you're about to pay, blah blah blah, coupons and all that stuff, and then the iPad turns on and the screen activates with the camera. So it's by demand. It's not randomly screening, like surveillance.
And let's say hypothetically, I'm second in line, and the first guy in line glances to the side at the moment that the payment is initiated. I'm second in line. I'm looking at the iPad. Does it somehow have the ability to register my face, or is it a possibility to prevent that?
Yeah, there's a lot of AI and machine learning built into the streams. We have some proprietary. It's actually it has 3 patents on the face recognition algorithm. It's not our own technology, but we partnered with a very special company that I vetted, almost all the face recognition systems out there over 2 years, and this was the best one. And so we've partnered with them. Their technology is patented, and there's a lot of ML, AI things like, only recognize one face at a time, do depth perception, do object detection, do all kinds of things that we can do, on with ML. And we're still working on those. They're not perfect, but things like, are you holding a phone up with someone's photo? Are you, do you have a hand in the stream with, another picture, things like that. We're trying to optimize those scenarios using, object detection, TensorFlow and Python and all those things to minimize the opportunity of someone trying to falsify their identity. Of course, we could always upgrade to 3D cameras, and put more beefier security. We already have the geofencing and all those things. It's software. No version is the final version. So, I mean, look how many times.
And that's the advance of software. You could just adjust it.
Yeah, and so we're constantly improving, some of the algorithms, the fraud algorithms and the data security. I'm not saying it's completely done and, now I can walk away and go sit on an island. I mean, I stay up till all the time. I don't sleep. I'm always trying to improve security or improve usability, improve, we're always, especially, we're a startup where, we're prototyping as we go. A lot of this has never been done before, right? So we're kind of pioneering it. And of course it's not going to be perfect right out of the gate, but we're not going to stop. I mean, and, we have almost zero competition really. And so, why not? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's go to the end.
Yeah, let's talk about that opportunity for a second. And we shortly touched upon some of the main benefits for the consumer, but seeing from a merchant perspective, what are some of the additional benefits that perhaps people don't automatically think of?
Yeah, we have some pretty cool actually introductory offers right now, clearly to penetrate the market and do adoption as fast as possible. We've done some incentives. So we're giving away the iPads for free in Bucharest right now. We have kind of this standard, mounted iPad that is, and the hardware is all for free. We even pay 500 euros credit towards your credit card processing. So you basically get 500 credit against your credit card processing, the free iPad, and if you're a really cool shop or location, you may even get some free advertising spots on other non-compete screens, because we want to promote your business and we work closely to you. you're probably going to get a whole bunch of media and PR coverage because you'll probably be the first shop in your neighborhood with face recognition.
Exactly.
And
And looking at some of the advantages that facial recognition offers for the merchants in general.
So the clear advantage is knowing your customer as a merchant. Some people walking off the street and buy with NFC, you have no idea who they are. And if you can convert them to come in and create a PayByFace account, maybe because on PayByFace, we also have like an in-app sort of click and collect system we're building. So technically those merchants could extend their, offers and, that 5 o'clock cheesecake they want to get rid of and put it in the app, and then you could redeem the coupon and go to the shop and buy the cheesecake, using PayByFace for a discount. So they have those sort of, know your customer remarketing and promote your products inside of our ecosystem. That's basically how we're monetizing it. Performance-based, monetize. If we bring you business, that's the only time we'll charge you. Otherwise, it's free, and we'll try to help you as much as we can because we know businesses are struggling. And so that's the idea. And so it's a lot of value for them. They'll have we have dashboards where they can log in and they can see their customers that bought with PayByFace and contact them and say how was your latte today? Guess what? You'll get buy one get one free next time on us. Thank you for being a loyal customer. And that's up to the merchants what they want to do with that data, right? And clearly, when you sign up with PayByFace, there's terms and conditions, and you got to accept this stuff. But that's part of being a loyal customer. You're going to get special treatments, and that merchant's going to win a loyal customer again, where they're hurting. Post COVID, nobody wants to go out of the house anymore, and so you got to have a reason to go over to their shop. They're still paying rent. They still got employees standing there wearing masks, waiting for you. We got to send them business. So
Yeah, perhaps diving a bit deeper into COVID. When you started PayByFace, you started the company with almost everybody working remote. Why did you choose this setup? Of course, now I think it's paying dividends, but why did you take this line of approach?
Well, so when it was just me, Lone Ranger, it was easy. But now our we actually formed the company. I found a co-founder, and now we're scaling up. We have a Dutch entity now. We're starting subsidiaries in several countries already. We have partners worldwide, and it's getting pretty pretty crazy. And at one point, we had like 18 people on our team worldwide, which was kind of crazy. And there's no way I could have put everyone on planes for monthly meetings. I mean, now it's like Zoom. I know all I do is look at Zoom all day, and so it's easy. I don't have to get on a plane. I don't have to if I don't feel like it, I don't even have to put pants on. I mean, it's so convenient to do business with anyone in the world now. I mean, we're getting conferences from India, from South Africa, from Singapore, from, I could have never met these people unless I went to a conference with them. And now I can easily reach out on LinkedIn. Everyone's very flexible, very, very friendly and very willing to have a call, because it's easy. It doesn't really cost us anything doing business. The cost of doing business, I think, has significantly dropped.
Yeah.
And if you're good enough to be able to manage, the extended, awareness and funnel with proper, conversion and understanding, your partnership strategy, which is now the struggle because, now you have like everyone's lining up at your door and you have to try to figure out, okay, well, who are we going to talk to? And so I think that's the new challenge is now it's just like so much opportunity. Because we can be remote and my CFO can be in Paris and my, head of partnerships can be in Zurich and our chief marketing officer can be in Geneva, and our foundation members can be in Bucharest and we're all still as if we're neighbors.
Exactly. And looking at some of the companies that have transitioned into a work from home style of working, do you have any lessons that you've learned in setting up your company from scratch with the idea of working from home in mind that perhaps they can take their learnings from?
So actually speaking on that, I'm co-founder at an incubator in Bucharest. In a few days, we're actually opening applications for the next cohort. And this is part of some of the lessons that we're speaking on right now. Clearly it's of importance, especially if you're trying to get, from the corporate, or maybe your corporate is laying people off and you're one of the bunch. You got to find something cool to do from home now. And why not start a company? And I think that's sort of that people are thinking about that. And if, it's not easy. You're still going to have your kiddos running around, you're going to be distracted, and if you want to go take a nap, it's not that hard to do so. And you kind of have to have a little bit more sort of matureness. I would say you kind of have to be a little more mature about your time management, your all your management skills come out when you have to self-manage yourself. And if you're not, if you don't think you have strong skill sets in self-managing yourself, or, you've never had a management position, you've always been like a sole contributor, always being told what to do, then going into a management, managed startup entrepreneurial sort of, day-to-day grind, it's not the same thing. And if you're not ready for that, or you're not sure what it means, go apply to an incubator program, and get some, go through an incubator program, and then maybe go through an accelerator. We just did the startup bootcamp accelerator here in Amsterdam, and we are so much better as a company after this accelerator program. I can't even tell you enough. I mean, it's one of the best programs I've seen, and I've been doing companies worldwide. So clearly, you're never going to build anything successful by yourself. Yeah, maybe some people might. Some people get lucky. Some people might,
Yeah,
right?
well, it's all about having the right team on board, right?
Yeah,
It's about having the people with the right mindset, that they can work from home and that they can collaborate even from a distance. This is also what we at Payment Machines focus on quite heavily. It's not only having the hard skills that somebody requires, but as well, what kind of personality are you bringing on board? Is it somebody that's capable of operating within your team? Is it somebody who will flourish in the environment that you have with your organization?
yeah, and I actually did have some prior experience in remote management. I ran a 30 engineers at one of my jobs in America, and part of 20 a big portion of that team was in India. So we were kind of a 24-hour dev shop, because the India team would work overnight. We would take in the morning, we would take it over and then hand it off at night, and we had nightly meetings with my engineering team. And so I got used to the remote environment, and that's why this isn't that much new. It's just much more all day long, not at the end of the day.
Exactly. There's
Yeah,
no
and
escaping it.
there's no escaping it. Yeah, so.
Mihai, you're a multiple entrepreneur, started several companies in different areas, all focused on tech. But now you come up with something that's real disruptive for the payment industry. Do you see any other technical developments that you think are possible for a disruptive force within the payment value chain?
Actually, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in the med tech right now. Clearly, the whole worldwide healthcare system needs help, without a doubt. And actually, one of my other startups is in the med tech space. That also went through the Amsterdam Startup Bootcamp Health Inc. Accelerator at the same time as PayByFace. So there's opportunity everywhere. I mean, there's opportunity in transportation, and obviously in travel and airlines, and in all the stuff Elon Musk is doing. Space, all of that. There's so much opportunity. I mean, yeah.
And are there any operations or procedure processes that you see, or technological platforms that you see that are so inefficient that it just baffles you, saying we really need to change it right now?
Yeah, there's clearly anything that's still using paper, I think has a problem. Paper is a problem.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, unless you even, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could, somebody could say otherwise, but I just think paper is a problem. So why are we still doing things on paper, especially in a hospital setting? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's tools, reliable, secured, tools using technology that can help us. Clearly, you've seen UiPath out of Romania, the first DECA unicorn or whatever it's called. They're automating, robot process automation like RPA, digital transformation. There's no point in people entering things in Excel anymore, right? There's no point and double checking data on a paper and blah blah blah. There's so many things, that we can robots are starting to show up at the grocery store, right? Like, it's probably time. We're sending rockets to Mars and we're still, tracking on paper. Like, we're not ready for Mars. Like, slow down, Elon. We're
No,
still on paper.
exactly. We should be reducing
Yeah.
our dependency on cash paper. It's something we've always baffled me when I visited Germany, is that they're so cash dependent. And we mentioned the waves that you're currently riding with regards to the transition into contactless. Do you see that as well in the mindset of the merchants that are being forced to change, basically, in order to offer different payment methods? And of course, PayByFace is one of them. But did you see a giant spike in excitement for these new innovative payment methods?
I'm not very good at other people's statistics. I kind of keep my eyes on my own, because that's sort of, but I read sort of high level, especially headlines. I don't have time to read full articles sometimes. And honestly, I hate reading. I'm a coder, and so I don't want to read. I want to just go.
And then did you have a lot of merchants at the first of all saying, no,
Yeah,
we're fine. We don't need to make a
yeah,
transition into a payment method like PayByFace. But now all of a sudden are knocking at your door. So you see opportunities popping up left and right.
yeah. I think so. The struggle that I noticed at first was just the process. Now they have to do things they've never done before. They have to restructure their floor layouts. They have to limit things. They have to, wipe things down, and they have to sort of control these elements that they've never had to control before. And I think a lot of the struggle was just figuring out the processes, from a business perspective, cost perspective, like relationship. All of that came first before the tech solutions, because the tech solutions were just knocking at the door. They've been through the accelerator. They knew this was coming. So, but now it's like the business has to catch up. And I think the struggle that I've seen is the business side of things, is catching up to the tech, because the tech is moving light speed. But the business, the traditional business can't change like that overnight. And, I went to a lot of webinars, a lot of seminars, a lot of work groups, a lot of these like clusters of experts, that are trying to solve this problem. And everyone, has sort of a solution. And, I'm part of all these groups on Slack where, it's all payment experts and blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's, people are afraid of change, right? That's just the human behavior thing. We're afraid of changing, especially if we've been doing something for 10 years. You can't just get up one day and do something else. And that's the struggle, I think. But then it takes also that herd mentality, the virality, the social craze, and, the way that if one person's doing it, then I want to do it. And so it's a battle between, the fight and flight mechanism. Of, okay, now I have a problem. Do I run away from it, or do I tackle it on head on? And I think most people like to run away. Uh, and so trying to get them to stop running away and coming back and working together to solve the problem, with help, with solutions, with dialogue, with brainstorming, with, maybe some trial and error, maybe some fail and maybe some succeed. But unless you have that mentality to stop running away from your problem and looking at head on, right, and calmly trying to understand how to solve it, I think those are the businesses that are going to succeed. And so clearly,
Yeah, well, for that, you need the innovators, the early adapters before the late majority as well gets
yeah,
on
it's
board.
very complicated. I mean, it's very complicated, very abstract sort of problem. You can't just write a formula on the whiteboard for this. And I think it's also just a little patience too, with people, right? To teach them, like, don't be scared of this, right? Just try it. Okay, it's new, but let's let's go through this together and figure out. Some people love it. I mean, some people just jump right in, but some people are just they need time. And I think if
Yeah,
we
you
have a
really
little
need to
patience
guide them,
as
to take them by the
take them
hands,
by the
one
hand,
step at a time.
yes,
And beside that, I don't want to focus too much on China, but I think recent developments do make it interesting to talk about it for a short moment. For instance, uh, amongst TikTok users, US being concerned about the influence China is getting, and as well the data storage. Is that something that you're worried about at all? Or do you say, hey, listen, we're located in Europe, we adhere to all the rules and regulations, and we don't see any difficulties on that front?
That's definitely always a risk. And where your data is, and who's seeing your data, and what servers you're using. That's clearly important, especially when we're working with large banks. We can't mix that up. And politics are important. We're part of the Visa Innovation Program out of Bulgaria, and clearly, we're a European company. And so, yeah, we do check with our advisory board when it comes to crossing borders, to make sure, for one, we're within regulation, two, we're within compliance, three, we're within good political relations. All those things are clearly important, because even though I want to go do business with everyone, it's just not the world we live in, unfortunately, at the moment. And yeah, so that is important.
And then perhaps to talk a bit more about the technical aspect of facial recognition itself. You mentioned that the tech you're using is not your own, but you really looked into the market and looked for the best. So what are some of the differences in the way that facial recognition works? And are there a lot of differences in the way that technology is being applied?
Yeah, there's a lot of differences, and there's a platform in America called NIST, National Institute Standards and Technology, something like that. But they basically all real face recognition algorithms have to go through the NIST study, the NIST testing and everything, and they give you basically like a your level of accuracy, technically, and unbiased.
So it's basically checking whether it can distinguish a real face from a photo
Yeah, they
projected on a digital device.
yeah, they have several their own standards, like practices that they do against the algorithm, with all of the things, like different photos of different races, and how many photos are you being compared to, and blah blah blah. What's the performance and the accuracy?
Well, how do twins compare?
Yeah, so twins are twins. I mean, it's basically yeah, twins are twins. So I can't really do anything about that. The only thing I have to do is pin on glass, with the geofencing, and hopefully your twin brother or sister doesn't have the same pin as you, as well. Um, but luckily, they're family. So
And hopefully they get
hopefully
along.
they can get along. But yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, and the face recognition isn't 100% either. I mean, there's going to be false positives in the algorithm. It's just name of the game. And but the problem here that we're trying to solve, which this this sort of algorithm that we chose, and the architecture behind the algorithm, is it's a highly flexible and highly customizable, on how we can utilize that algorithm, and how we can break it apart and put it back together, and sort of target your face match, not against the whole world, but just against the people in your neighborhood. And so when you target it like that, it's sort of decentralized, face biometric face data, and I have this sort of term I'm trying to coin right now, because technically under PayByFace, it's not really PayByFace. That PayByFace was just the product of the system I built underneath, which is sort of like this on-demand biometric data distribution network. And so because now I'm just matching you against your neighbors, and you're going to be a high level accuracy against your neighbors, than you are against the whole world. And most of the face recognition platforms out there, they're still kind of going towards your photo goes out in the cloud somewhere, gets looked up against millions of other faces, and hopefully it thinks you're who you are, right? And the chances of that go lower and lower the bigger your database gets. But in our situation, because we decentralized it, it doesn't really matter how big the database gets, because I'm never going to compare you, with someone in Switzerland if you're sitting in Bucharest. That's just stupid architecture. And so I'm just going to compare you with the people in your surrounding area, and most likely you are pretty unique, almost close to a high level 99 plus accuracy, that you're unique within your neighborhood.
And say I'm personally I'm living in Amsterdam, and if I'm traveling to Paris, does then my phone give a sort of a warning that I'm currently in Paris and that my face can be matched to that database?
So the matching is actually done locally on the iPads. And so the iPad, the list of faces that that iPad should recognize gets synced, based on the user settings, based on the user's location, and all those things. And so the iPad sort of makes a best guess, or the system sort of makes a best guess when it doesn't know for sure, because usually it knows for sure, but it does a best guess. It tries to put your face on that iPad so that when you do walk up to it, it knows you. And so if it knows that you're in whatever in Paris, there's no reason why the iPads in Bucharest should have your face on them. Right?
Yeah.
And so they're only going to be copied down to the iPad where you should be. Um, when you
Yeah,
go,
and
yeah,
not just my home location, right? My place of residence, but also the location where I'm currently at that point in time.
yeah,
And so that when I'm traveling throughout Europe, and for instance, I'm in London, my face is matched or added to the database in London
right, yeah, and
for
still,
that
of
point.
course, this is all still kind of theory because we have deployed only in Bucharest iPads that are live. And so right now I'm playing with a very small network, and clearly we have this very small network, but it's
Yeah,
built for.
but the plan is to grow, right?
Yeah, the plan is to grow, and as the network grows, we activate these sort of triggers along the way, putting into practice the architecture we designed. Um, and so yeah, some of it will be discovery as the network grows, and as we have let's say 1 million users running around Europe paying by face. I mean, I can't wait for that to happen, but it's going to be a different challenge, clearly, with having an e-money license, being able to transfer payments cross border, doing instant transfers. There's so many, maybe we'll get it to blockchain, I don't know, but at that point, like, it's a totally different sort of problem than what we have right now. Right now we're just using sort of the tooling and the amount of effort given the scope, right? There's no reason to
Which makes
over
sense.
engineer it right now. But we do have those mechanisms in our architecture. Should they become important, we can just flip a switch and those things are basically activated. Um, and so these are sort of this is just part of scalable and engineering best practices of design patterns, and making things resilient in your architecture so you don't have technical debt, and you don't have to rework your whole stack 3 years down the road because you didn't performance test it. And sort of all of these things are what went into PayByFace to try to keep it alive for as long as possible until it takes off. Which is every
Yeah.
startup struggle. The last one standing is the one that becomes the unicorn.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned pin on glass already a few times. Is that required every time you make a transaction, or are there exemptions, such as with SCA, for instance?
Again, that depends on the user settings. They basically out of the box, the pin is forced on the account, regardless of the sum. And then it's up to you whether you want to deactivate the pin up to basically
30 euros.
30 euros. Yeah, but it depends. Right now in Bucharest, it's actually set for 30 lei, which is about 6 euros. So it depends on the market, if and really this is just our own the user's own desire. They can
Their
change
preferences, yeah.
they can change 30 to 100 or whatever they want. They can turn it off, they can turn it on. And so that's what we did at PayByFace. Is I'm not sort of Wizard of Oz telling what everyone should do. I want you to set whatever experience you want PayByFace to give you as a user. You set it. If you want VR mask, if you want to go look at the iPad and look like I don't know, look like your favorite cartoon character with a VR augmented reality mask, you can do that too. You don't even have to be yourself when you're checking out. And so that's why we want to sort of take payments beyond the transaction. Making it almost into a gamification platform for those who choose. Not everyone. You could enable it, you could not. You could do this, you could do that. And that was the beauty of PayByFace. We don't want to tell you what to do. We want to let you customize your shopping experience.
Yeah, well, of course, now with SCA, we have the phone, which is the hardware device you own, and the fingerprint, something you are. Of course, the iPad you don't own. So how do you adhere to the 2 out of 3 rule for SCA?
So I think there's the proximity part that you have to be close to the thing. You don't have to uh, you have to be close to the device. And then it's the knowledge part, which is something that you know that nobody else knows.
And that's PIN.
That's the pin on
Yeah.
glass. And then the actual biometric part
Is something you want.
with the card tokenization, because it's a combination of the card tokenization and right, because I've tokenized the card, and when you tokenize the card, that's when you do 3DS secure, which proves you are well, technically it should prove that you are the card holder, right? And so I have card tokenization. I have your biometric face as basically your digital ID, like a biometric login, right? And then the pin on glass with proximity to the device. So in essence, we're okay on the strong customer authentication side.
Yeah, indeed. Looking forward to that because it's been coming for some time now. But yeah, what do you see the time frame? How long would it take before full biometric payments is the only way we pay?
Well, yeah, I've been dreaming of that for a while, but we are very aggressive. I'm trying to. So I like sailing. And so I have this thing like wind in the sails, you go for it. And there's wind in our sails
Exactly.
right now. So we just won Raiffeisen factory, startup factory in Romania, which gives us 50,000 basically EU funds, backed funding from Raiffeisen, and we're pumping this funding into Romania to buy another almost 48 iPads. We already bought 50 iPads earlier this year. So we want to try to go and install about 100 locations throughout Bucharest, concentrated in Bucharest. Maybe some will go to Cluj and some other cities. We already have 2 in Constanța by the beach. And so, but concentrated in Romania, unless, of course, the outbreak happens again, because I've heard, Romania's kind of going a little crazy on the COVID again. But hopefully that subsides and the country doesn't go into lockdown again, and we get to go, by the book. I'd like to have those 100 locations in the next, 90 to, maybe 120 days up and running. And by the end of next year, I'd like to be anywhere from, closer to 500 locations. And right now we're targeting, coffee shops, pharmacies, beach restaurants and bars for the summertime. You can imagine getting out of the water and just go straight to the bar and
Yeah,
buy your
exactly.
colada. Pretty cool. And so, yeah, that's kind of our goal. And of course, we're also approaching the large businesses, large, grocery store chains, large franchise chains, so that we can swoop up, a whole bunch at once. And then we just recently launched a press release. I believe it went out yesterday. We formed a partnership with Up Romania, which is prepaid corporate meal cards. And we fully integrated the system to where we can tokenize those cards on PayByFace. And now, all of their affiliate merchants will be able to onboard a PayByFace tablet into their shops and get their customers that are using Up Romania to just go pay with their face. And they have approximately 750,000 cardholders.
Yeah.
Romania.
So there's a huge market to tap
Yeah,
into.
so we're pretty grateful and excited for this partnership, and there's more, more like these to come. And so we're really excited, and we're trying to, raise some funding by the end of the year once we validate this a little better and have some statistics behind us from these iPads. Then go for a seed round, and hit first revenue somewhere in there with either the digital out-of-home advertising or the in-app, click and collect business models.
Yeah, and do you as well see the transition from in-store to online?
Yeah, well, that we're helping that. So with our sort of click and collect platform inside PayByFace, a merchant that doesn't have e-commerce presence and now click and collect and delivery and shopping online is sort of the hot new thing, for merchants that were brick and mortar. Now they're just sort of a distribution hub,
Yeah,
taking
exactly.
orders online and shipping them off with Deliveroo. So that's part of the platform that we give them with the click and collect feature in PayByFace. Now they can sort of publish their menu or their offers or whatever inside of the PayByFace app to the user base for them to be able to go in and click and collect, and then just go to the store and scan their face and pick up their item. So
Nice.
that's also
Yeah.
in the works.
So a lot to do.
Yeah. Wind in our sails. We gotta go.
Exactly. Full speed ahead.
Full sail ahead. Yeah.
Hey, Mihai, it's been a real pleasure having you on our podcast. Thanks a lot for your time. And thanks for explaining biometrics a bit more and PayByFace. We definitely learned something new. And hopefully we'll talk again soon in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad we had this talk, and hopefully the viewers enjoyed it. And please reach out to me as well if you want to hear the latest on PayByFace.
All right. The Voices in Payments podcast is an initiative launched by Payment Genes, aimed at positively impacting the payments community by educating and connecting the market with vertical-specific industry expertise. We as Payment Genes empower the industry by focusing on the fundamentals for business growth. We achieve this by providing industry-leading payments recruitment, business and data strategy consulting services. Check out paymentgenes.com for more info, and please follow us on social media for more jobs, company updates, industry insights, and more.